Hey guys, Jeff here at Zip Hearing, and today I want to talk about buying hearing aids online, the pros and cons of buying online, and some tips to get you better results if you do buy online. But first, hit that like button and I'll keep the videos coming. Now, there are two main advantages for buying hearing aids online, just like everything else you buy online: price and convenience. The average pair of hearing aids bought locally in the United States costs about $4,600. Compare that to some of the biggest online hearing aid retailers, and their average price for a pair comes to about $1,700. Or in other words, it is 65% cheaper to buy hearing aids online. And here's how that process works. It's going to vary depending on the company that you buy from, but it generally goes something like this. You do a hearing test on their website, consult with their support staff, and actually choose a hearing aid, and then it arrives in the mail either pre-programmed or they do real-time remote hearing aid programming. So as you can see from that process, there's no one involved locally. That's what they would consider the middleman, and that's what drastically reduces your price. And then all the service is done remotely, and hey, remote service is sounding pretty good right now. So when you look at that pricing and convenience, it looks like a no-brainer to buy hearing aids online. But there are some pretty big disadvantages to buying online that you wouldn't necessarily be aware of, especially if this is your first time with hearing aids. These are the three biggest disadvantages to buying online. First, long-term, it's actually inconvenient. Yeah, initially getting hearing aids delivered and set up remotely, that's easy and it is convenient. But it's also a very small part of owning hearing aids. They take, maintenance, troubleshooting, new parts, modifications. This kind of stuff is a pain to do remotely. What could be done in 2 minutes in a local office can take weeks of back and forth with an online company, which just means a lot of time without your hearing aids. So keep that in mind. If you want your hearing aids to work as well as they can, they're going to need routine service and adjustments, and it is so much more convenient to have someone locally that can do that for you. The second disadvantage is actually price. Yes, buying hearing aids online is 65% cheaper than the $4,600 that the average American pays for hearing aids locally, but $1,700 for online hearing aids with no local support is actually not a great deal at all. Especially if you have a Costco nearby, you can get a pair of hearing aids for less than $1,700 with local care included. And you don't have to have a Costco nearby to get prices like this. In most towns, you can find a pair of hearing aids for $2,000, maybe a little less. So don't assume that buying online is the only way to find affordable hearing aids. You can get the same prices locally with care included. And the third disadvantage is they're not custom sized for you, which means they may not fit correctly and they may not be programmed correctly either. Let me give you an example of how they may not fit correctly. This is the kind of hearing aid that most online companies sell because it's the most off-the-shelf kind of hearing aid there is. It's the easiest hearing aid to sell to the masses online. But even this hearing aid needs some customization. At least two things need to be carefully chosen on this hearing aid. This wire where the sound comes out needs to be sized properly so it fits discreetly on your ear like it should. And this silicone dome, there's a ton of variations, needs to be chosen correctly or the hearing aid's not going to fit right or sound right. And for a lot of people, a dome won't be appropriate at all and they'll need a custom ear mold, but an online company can't do that. And you also have to consider that they may not be programmed correctly. When you get hearing aids programmed remotely, you don't have any way of knowing whether or not they're even amplifying how they should be because online companies can't do fitting verification like real ear measurement. Now, putting all those disadvantages aside, it still might make sense to buy hearing aids online. Maybe you live in a rural area with no hearing aid centers, or maybe you have just a very mild hearing loss and you just want the cheapest and fastest solution. Or maybe every hearing center in your town just has crazy high prices. If that's the case and you are going to buy online, here's a few tips. First is get a hearing test locally. A local hearing test with calibrated equipment, it's going to be much more reliable than any online hearing test. And this is important because, your hearing aids are only going to perform well if the test that is used to program the hearing aids is accurate. So get a test locally and give that test to the online company to use rather than doing their online test. This also gives you a chance to get your ears evaluated, make sure it's not just wax, and make sure that there's not some underlying medical condition contributing to your hearing loss. My second tip is have a plan for getting support locally when you need it, because you probably are going to need it or really want it. So what I mean by that is before you buy online, try and have some local provider that'll commit to helping you out for a fee for things like custom ear molds if you need it, or quick repairs or modifications. This is so much better than having to mail your hearing aids out to get these simple things done. And my last tip, if you plan on buying any one of these major brands online, be careful about who you buy from, because most of these manufacturers do not allow their hearing aids to be sold mail order. They require an in-person and local appointment to purchase. And that means if you do buy these brands online from a company that just mails them to you, there is a very good chance you're buying from an unauthorized retailer, which is risky. If you want to buy one of these brands and you want to buy it online, I strongly recommend you watch this video first. You will save yourself a lot of headache. Okay, that's a wrap for this video. If you have a question, please leave me a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this, just hit the subscribe button and I'll see you on the next one.